Peña, and I am a member of what we call the LULAC, the League of United Latin American Citizens. But let me tell you a little story that I mentioned to my interviewer that happened when I was a very young boy in my school district. I was about 10 years old, and we had what they called separate schools at the time, and also separate seating on the buses. So when the schools were integrated, and finally we were able to go to school in the same place as the Anglos, we used to experience riding the bus from the farms that we lived at and coming back. And we always had to sit in the back of the bus for some reason. So one day my friend, one of my cousins, challenged me. He said, you know, he says, we always have to sit in the back of the bus. And I didn't know really why, because we were kids and very young, and nobody told us that it was discrimination what it was. So he said, well, he says, I bet you can't sit in the front of the bus. I said, yes, I can. I bet I can. How? How are you going to do it? He said, well, when the bell rings, I'm going to run and I'm going to beat everybody and I'm going to sit in the front. Oh, you are? But my friend, my cousin, he knew that it wasn't because who would get there first. It was because we were segregated in the bus. So he knew, but I didn't know. So when the bell rang, I ran real fast and I beat everybody. So I sat in the front seat of the bus. And everybody started coming in. So later, when the bus filled up and the driver shut the doors and drove out on the road to deliver us all over there on the counties, on the schools, on the farms, and one of the kids in the bus said, hey, you can't sit here in the front. So I said, why not? He says, because this is only for Anglos. Mexicans can't sit here. He said, I told him, no, but I got here first. So I think I deserve to sit here. Well, he said, you can't. So he started shoving me around and pushing me and calling me names. And as a result of that, there was a big, you would say, a struggle there with the kids with my age, 10 years old. And some of the older kids then got involved, and they came in there and beat me, hit me in the head, and wanted to drag me from my seat. So my brothers that were sitting in the back, they were a little older, and so my friends, they came to the front to defend me. So they said, why did you hit him? Well, because he's not supposed to be sitting here. So then the bus driver stopped the bus. So he says, what's going on back there? They told him, well, this is a Mexican kid here, Roman. He's sitting in the front seat here where he's not supposed to, and he doesn't want to move. So the bus driver came back over here and said, okay, you caused a lot of commotion, so I'm going to put you out of the bus. So he put me out of the bus, and it was, we were about middle ways to my house, to my farm, because we lived about 5 or 6 miles away from the city. So he put me out, and I was about 3 miles down the road. So later, when the bus arrived at my house, my mother, and she always was very concerned with our lives. She asked the brothers, where is Roman? Where happened to you? He said, well, the bus driver, he dropped him off in the middle of the road because he was sitting here in the front seat of the bus, and he's over there in the woods somewhere. So it was getting dark, so they said that she was real, you would say, concerned about my welfare, and she started calling my uncles and everybody else to go look for me. So when they came by, I would see the wagons, because those days we had wagons and mules. They were going down the dirt road, calling for my name to where was I, and what I did, I was hiding in the woods because I was afraid that when they found out that they had put me out of the bus, that they were going to beat me up. Sometimes the parents, if you did wrong, they whip you for doing wrongdoing thing. So I would hide in the woods. I would not come out. So then it got dark, and then they really started worrying. So I was out in the woods and among with the coyotes and hollering and everything. But I wasn't too afraid because we were used to being in the farm. Then later, my uncles came out. They came out with their old shotguns and 22s that they had to come and look for me and find out what had happened. So finally, when they were hollering and calling for my name, I said, I better come out because it's getting dark and I'll probably get bitten by a snake. So I came out, and they were very happy that I was still alive, and they carried me home. The next day, my uncles and several community people went to see the bus driver and to talk to him about why he had done this to a little kid. Maybe I was not even 10, maybe about 8. So he said, they told him, well, look, you're not supposed to be putting kids like that out in the bus in danger of their lives. And we always come to shop at your place, and because he got a store, in downtown. So he did that on the side. Well, they got so angry that they said, we're not going to be buying any more groceries from you. We're going to go to this other store. That it was a sort of a racist person, but they said it's better than you. So he said, no. He said, don't do that. He says, what I'm going to do, I'm going to quit. So he quit as a bus driver, and then they said, don't leave my business, because then I won't have any money to buy any more groceries for you all. So then my parents decided to not call the boycott of the school, of the grocery store. So then later, I didn't want to go back to school because I was afraid. So my cousin tells me in his memory, he says, when you decided that you were not going to come back to school, we told the school that we were going to walk out, that we were all going to boycott the school, and we were not going to go to school either until they brought you back. He says, and he says, the principal at that time and the superintendent, they came back to my parents' house, and my teacher, and they said, no, you got to come back because everybody is very mad at what they did to you. So this happened in maybe around the 1950s, somewhere around there. So then later on in life, as we moved from our communities, we were, my cousins, it was all about you that you had the bus desegregated, the seating. He says, because now they let us all sit in wherever we want. So I became a hero, among all the children there. And I said, well, did I? Yes. He said, now we can sit anywhere. And later on in life, when we moved to San Antonio, I had come back from the military. I was about 22. So that there was a big movement, a civil rights movement, the Chicano movement. And we got to hear a lot of speakers come and talk to LULAC at seminars and meetings and things of that nature. And then we went to a big hearing of what they call La Raza Unida. It was a big gathering where the Civil Rights Commission had come in to investigate some atrocities that had happened in the valley. So there we heard the discussion of a man named Gus Garcia. Gus Garcia, he says, was a big civil rights leader, lawyer and everything. So we didn't really know who he was. But that day, someone said, you know, he fought a big case in the Supreme Court, sometimes maybe around the 1950s, and he declared that the school districts were discriminatory and they declared the law unconstitutional. So that really was the cause of the bus being desegregated. But my cousins, they always thought it was me that made it happen. It just so happened that it happened almost at the same time.